All right, guys, so of course, if you're on this video, you probably know that your diet is very influential for your health and long-term disease outcome and stuff like this, right? We all know that eating healthier foods is better than eating less healthy foods. We all know that whole foods such as steak and whole natural potatoes, natural foods, whole foods are going to be better than going to McDonald's or even your average restaurant and eating, right? But I want to get on here because the other day, was eating some deer steak from a deer that I shot. Actually, I didn't shoot this particular deer. My brother did, but I was eating this deer, and I'm chewing on it, and I'm realizing, wow, number one, it tastes very different than any meat that you buy at the store. Even different than supposed grass-fed beef, which is mainly what I eat when I'm not eating deer. Grass-fed beef from a local farmer, potentially not grass-finished. I'm not completely sure, but they're supposed to be, wild animals that are out in the field eating grass in a pretty natural lifestyle and habitat. But I'm eating this deer, and it tastes very different. Another thing that's kind of just an off topic is the fact that when I process the deer myself, I leave all the tendons and stuff on it, as opposed to when you go to, or you buy meat, especially from the store, but even from a local butcher, they will cut those things off, right? But of course, if you cut those off, those are now things that you're not getting in your natural diet, right? Things like collagen and other sorts of proteins that simply won't be on the meat cuts that you're getting. Where if you're butchering it yourself, you can leave those things on. And if you've ever chewed on a piece of actual tendon, you will realize that it is very hard. It is a dense piece of material. And you are what you eat, right? We all know this. We've all heard a grandma say this. And it's not just an old wives' tale. Actual science backed this up. I mean, you are what you eat. I mean, it's a fact, right? It's a scientific fact. So if you're trying to be, physically harder, let's say you want to build muscle, you want to get denser, you want to be stronger, you're going to want to eat these things, right? The deer has a lot of tendon on it because it's living a natural lifestyle. And it is, having to run and leap and jump. If you've ever seen a deer in nature, it'll jump over a cow fence like nothing, 4, even 5 foot tall fence. People who raise deer, domestically, they have to have, 6, 7, 8 feet fences, even 12 feet, in some instances, because they can jump really high. That's a byproduct of, their muscle, tendon, and ligament composition, right? They're made out of, something harder. Now, we're going to get into some of these things here, but I want to back up a little bit and find the specific study that I am trying to look at here. Just a little overview. So it's already known that wild animals, even grass-fed animals, but wild animals to an even larger extent, have more vitamins, minerals, as well as a more favorable, supposedly, I say supposedly because I'm not too sure exactly on the science, but supposedly having a more omega-3 to omega-6 higher ratio in favor to omega-3 is healthier, supposedly, and stuff like this. And we know that domesticated animals, even grass-fed animals, have a way higher omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. In favor of omega-6, which is not what you're looking for. The higher omega-3 is what you're looking for. That's why people talk about fish oils, because it has a lot of omega-3. Tertiary to even the vitamin, mineral, and unsaturated fatty acid contents, you have the fact that this highlighted part here, wild meat tends to have more protein and fewer calories than domesticated meat. It's just more protein dense. It's just denser. And I can attest to this just from what I was just speaking on. When you're chewing on a piece of wild meat, it's just it's just denser. It's just harder. There's just more substance there. You can taste the minerals. You can taste the vitamins. It's just more. I want to say succulent. I don't know if that's the correct word, but it's more. It's more delectable. There's just more there. There's more umami flavor. If you've ever eaten sushi, that's the flavor of the raw meat, umami. Wild meat is just to an even greater degree. And another thing that's not even mentioned on here because it's such a new facet of science is studying different RNAs that are in meat and especially in organs and stuff that are actually potentially bioactive. And that's one of the things we're going to get into here. So you have these differences with wild and domesticated meat. This is a known thing. There's a study I could pull up right here, just talking about this very known incidence in genetic science, as well as nutrition and stuff like this, is the domestication syndrome. This is specifically talking about some behavioral differences based on neural crest cell behavior between domesticated and wild animals. But there are huge differences, as I just mentioned. The composition of the meat is entirely different. These animals are just healthier. Wild animals don't need vaccinations and pills, and stuff like this that farmers readily give to animals on a regular basis. It's a regular thing that they do. Whereas, of course, wild animals don't need these things to be healthy. They just are. So you are what you eat, and if you're eating these unhealthy animals, not even to mention the subsidiary the drugs that you're giving to these animals that are still in the meat when you eat it, not even to mention things like this, just the quality of the animal and the health of itself, it's just of a lower quality. So where am I trying to go? I've got a lot of things pulled up here. So we know. Okay, let's just read this study here. Dietary soy and meat proteins induce distinct physiological and gene expression changes in rats, and there are I don't even know, potentially hundreds of studies that are studying various specific things related to this. The fact that different sources of meat, and particularly protein in this case, have distinct physiological and gene expression changes and patterns based on the source and composition of the food that you're eating. So you think, let's say soy is a complete amino acid, and then you're eating a nice steak. They have this, even if they're full complete proteins and they supposedly have all the amino acids you're supposed to get, they have distinct physiological changes that they induce when you eat them, particularly gene expression patterns. We all know that we have these genes, our DNA is made up of these genes and stuff, but just because you have a specific gene, let's say the gene that produces, growth hormone, or the gene that expresses testosterone, or stuff like this, when you're talking about muscle gain, or just being healthy in general, just because you have those genes, specific things need to be put in place and in your diet for these genes to be expressed. Different things turn them on, different things inhibit them, and different things also can mutate them and actually permanently damage them. And that is all influenced by things that you eat. And this is one study that's going over it. You can read it if you want. I'm not going to go into it, but it's right here in the headline. And there's hundreds like this. Here's another one, I believe, talking about basically the same thing. Influence of the bioactive diet components on the gene expression regulation. So this is talking about epigenetics, I believe, more specifically. They're talking about nutrigenetics, nutrigenomics, and things such as this, which is basically, as I just said, how your diet and sources, even if you're getting your macros in, let's say 2 diets constituting the same macronutrient composition, are going to have distinct patterns in changing your gene expression. And those are extremely influential. And once you get into things like epigenetics, that's genetics that is heritable, that are changeable in your lifestyle, that you can change and modulate over your lifetime, that will in fact be passed on to your kids. So very important there. And this isn't pseudoscience, guys. This is real stuff. Maybe, I don't know if you're older, back in the day, maybe this was less known, but this is, it's completely known and completely validated, that this stuff is real. And actually the extent to it is unknown. I mean, every year they find more, constituents, nutrients, and things that regulate these things, and even more levels of complexity to how modulatable your genetics actually are. And these modulatable changes pass on to your kids, which is a very important thing to note. And again, there's hundreds of studies like this. So what's one I haven't clicked on? I don't know if I looked at this one here. Quantity and source of dietary protein influence metabolite production by gut microbiota and rectal mucosa gene expression. So again, looking at your dietary, your food, not only macronutrient quantity and composition, but the sources and what's called the matrix of whatever food you're eating, which is just all the tiny little molecules that are in the food. As I said, eating wild meat versus eating store-bought meat, it tastes different. It's known to have upwards of 7-8 times as much vitamins and minerals in it than store-bought food. On average, it's for grass-fed versus grain-fed animals. It's a 5 times more vitamins in that meat, in grass-fed meat, than in grain-fed meat. And it's even larger. I haven't found any specific studies on wild-type animals, which are wild animals, that are eating their natural diet, living in their natural habitat. I assume just because it's so hard to do. But it could be surmised that it's even greater with wild animals, even compared to just grass-fed animals. So huge things influencing gut microbiota. It's influencing the metabolisms of the bacteria in your gut that break down these foods, and then those influence your own metabolism and your own gene expression. So it's even multi-level, the regulation here, and it just keeps going and going. And one specific thing that I really want to hit on here, which is kind of a new thing. It's not super well researched, but it's starting to be elucidated more recently. This one was from 2014, but it's a very rapidly growing field of studying these things, are how intact peptides. If you don't know what peptides are, I'm sure everybody's heard of them, as like supplements and stuff like this. But peptides are tiny little chains of amino acids that do things in the body, right? Basically, they're what facilitate all the different metabolic processes in your body, and are absolutely, insanely important for your health, okay? And keeping you from becoming a diseased person, staving off disease, and things such as this. Intact peptides absorbed from the healthy gut in the adult humans. And it goes on to talk about how, yes, these peptides that you eat in your diet, the proteins that you eat don't just get broken down into their constituent amino acids for protein synthesis, but they actually are absorbed fully intact. And these are peptides that, if you didn't get them in your diet, you would not produce them. And that, again, that's not even to mention other layers of complexity where, your nutrient, the nutrients you're getting influence, what peptides are even produced by your body. If you just don't have the raw building blocks, these genes won't be expressed, and particular aspects of your metabolism that are meant to keep you healthy, regenerate, broken tissue, build muscle, just simply won't be turned on. Sorry about the beep in the back there. I really got to fix that. But what this is talking about is these amino acids, these peptides, actually are absorbed in the stomach, fully intact to be used by your own body. Very, very important. I mean, you think about, everybody talks about eating raw liver and stuff. I mean, the quantity of bioactive peptides and stuff in liver is, astronomical, and again, wild animals, or even just grass-fed animals, far and above 5, up 10, who knows how many times. On average, in the studies I've looked at, it's 5 times more quantity, vitamins and minerals, peptides, and RNAs, which again, everything I've been talking about influence your metabolism and staving off disease and keeping you healthy. That's another thing that's just starting to come to light in actual research that's starting to be proven. All these things, and this is all influenced by your diet, and the matrix, as it's called, as I said, in the food that you're eating. And it's just, the layers of how important this stuff is, it just keeps growing and growing. It never stops. Science it doesn't get to a point where it's like, oh, well, actually, we thought it was more important than it really is. No, you can eat seed oils and you can eat processed food. It's actually not that bad. No, it just keeps getting worse, actually, how negative the effects are and how positive the effects are of eating healthier. Yeah, man, it just keeps growing, and the evidence for the influential constituents in food that actually help stave off disease just keeps growing, and it lines up perfectly. You look at the population as a whole, and health just keeps going down and down, and these so-called heritable diseases, which partly are heritable, partly are brought on, induced by your own, diet and lifestyle in your own lifetime, because of course we know that dietary toxins and bad foods create DNA damage, and a bunch of byproducts that further damage your body, and it's no wonder why chronic disease is just skyrocketing. It's absolutely insane. The average American is on prescription drugs, and not even just one, multiple prescription drugs. And the average human, or the average, American, is taking these drugs, and they're chronically unhealthy, and just low energy and all these things. And it just keeps getting worse year after year. It's insane. No one denies that. The numbers don't lie. And then you look at what the average person eats, and it's insane. Even me, who's like a health conscious person who tries to eat healthy, you can't even avoid it. They're addictive. They are drugs. They are literally drugs. You eat fast food, and it's more addictive than a drug. I can tell you with certainty, I have a way harder time resisting processed food than I do any drug. I can tell you that with certainty. Okay. It's insane. And so that's pretty much all I got, man. Just more levels of complexity. This peptide thing, this dietary peptide influence on your health is extremely interesting. And if anyone out there has any more information or finds anything out, please let me know. But it's just insane, man. It's just insane. The fake food, that most people eat is just completely absent of any nutrients, and it's just so damaging. It's just insane. So for me, man, I'm gonna be eating steak, and I'm gonna be eating as much steak as I can, and as much wild deer as I can get, and that's what I'm doing, man.